Hi, I'm Linda Anderson. I'm one of the Justice Involved Veteran Program Managers at the Texas Veterans Commission, and I'm here to answer some of your questions. Are you a veteran, and what branch did you serve in? I am not a veteran. I am the proud daughter of an Army veteran who served 30 years in the Army and is a retired Sergeant Major. I have served in victim services for 14 years with law enforcement, so that's where I get a lot of my experience, whether being an Army brat or in law enforcement on the civilian side. What is the Justice Involved Veteran Program, and how does it help veterans who are involved with the criminal justice system? The Justice Involved Veteran Program is within the Veteran Mental Health Department at TVC, and our goal is to help veterans that are involved in the criminal justice system wherever they may be. So the criminal justice system is a continuum, so from start to end, and one of our goals is to make sure that they exit the criminal justice system successfully and remain out of the criminal justice system. So the way that we might be able to help in that capacity is by trainings and technical assistance. So we can assist veteran treatment courts, we can assist spouses or families that call, veterans that call us, asking for information for themselves or for somebody else. And a big component of that is also being able to educate others on how to work with veterans that have been trauma impacted or trauma affected. So some of the things that the agencies that we might provide training for, in addition to the community, would be court systems, law enforcement, corrections. So across that whole criminal justice spectrum or continuum, that is where we can provide trainings. And like I said, in addition to the community, because the more that we know about trauma and how a veteran may be impacted by it, the better off we all are, and the better the service is for that veteran that it comes in contact with the criminal justice system. What are some of the most common challenges veterans face that can increase their risk of entering the justice system after military service? This is a very multifaceted question with many different factors that could play into that. You have the individual themselves, and when we're looking at this, it's not just afterwards, after service. We really want to look at the totality of that entire person, because there are just so many different factors that can play into that. So everything that happened before this veteran entered into the service, what happened during their service, and then what has happened after their service. So you have your individual differences. You have other like childhood experiences that could be something that impacts somebody entering into the criminal justice system. Then you have everything that may have happened while they were in service, to include combat, to include moral injury, to include military sexual trauma, which can carry over after they leave the service, and then they leave the service. And transition is a very important thing that we all need to be paying attention to. How well is this veteran doing when they leave the service? How connected are they to the community? How are they getting their needs and just basic needs met? So some of the things that can impact a veteran upon exiting the service are things like, do they have a home stability? Do they have a place to live? Do they have a job? Do they like that job? Can they pay their bills? Can they do these things? And then we kind of backtrack and, are there any kind of like mental health conditions going on that need help beyond what they may realize? And so there could be unaddressed things going on, unaddressed mental health conditions that aren't being addressed, which can all lead into the criminal justice system, and as well as substances. So there's so many different ways that you could answer this, and there's so many different ways that contribute to somebody entering into the criminal justice. Is not an isolated factor. It is a bunch of different factors coming in that lead this person into the criminal justice system. How often do mental health conditions like PTSD, depression, or substance use play a role in the cases you see? A lot. That's the answer. We see a lot of substance use disorder with veterans that are in the criminal justice system. Vets that also have PTSD are 71% more likely to be involved in the criminal justice system. And veterans that have traumatic brain injuries are 59% more likely to be involved in the criminal justice system. So we see an array of different things going on with our veterans that are in the criminal justice system. So just some figures: 1 in 4 veterans that are in the state prisons and 1 in 5 veterans that are in the federal prisons are combat veterans. So we have those kinds of dynamics, as well as moral injury and PTSD. So there are a lot of different things that we see going on in terms of our veterans that are currently in the criminal justice system. Can veterans still access VA benefits and support services while incarcerated or involved in court proceedings? Yes, they can, absolutely. We have, at the Veteran Mental Health Department, we have the Military Veteran Peer Network, which allows for our peer service coordinators to interact with incarcerated veterans, also their families. In our claims department, we have specific claims benefit advisors who are just for justice-involved veterans. And so they're able to also make that contact and advise them and guide them with claims. So in terms of can they receive services, yes, they can. What resources are available for veterans before they reach a crisis point or become justice involved? Within the Veteran Mental Health Department, we have the Military Veteran Peer Network, also known as the MVPN. And in that, we have peer service coordinators located in each of the 254 counties of Texas. What these peer service coordinators offer are things meeting basic needs for veterans, in addition to any other kind of assistance that they might need, whether that's substance treatment, mental health conditions. So there's an array of different services that they provide. But one of the bigger things also that they provide is that connection to other veterans and really kind of bringing that community together, that community of veterans, to have a point where they can build these relationships and be connected with veterans. And they also help families as well. What are veteran treatment courts and how are they different from traditional courts? So veteran treatment courts, you may have heard of them referred to as VTCs. These are specialty courts that are specifically designed for veterans. A lot of times these VTCs, everybody involved on the staff side are veterans, which is really nice. And the thing about veteran treatment courts is that it is not easy. That is not an easy specialty court. So veterans that get accepted into these respective VTCs, they have to check in more, so they have more court appearances, they have to do more testing, they have to do the treatment, because overall what that emphasis is treatment. So treatment for that veteran, and this whole team approach to get that person successfully out of the criminal justice system. And with that, they're typically 12 to 24 months. These VTCs, they look at the individual veteran. They're looking at everything from start to finish. It's not just what's on paper. It's this person, this veteran, and having plans that are tailored specifically for this veteran to be able to complete, to be able to reintegrate into society with law-abiding behavior. So it is a lot more work, and they can also, at the end of, if they complete the veteran treatment course successfully, they may actually have all the record expunged, which is also super important for things like employment and housing and all the ranges of what life entails. So really what you have at every single veteran treatment court is a very dedicated group of people trying to help every single veteran that comes in there and try to help them to exit successfully and to have the tools and resources and support that they need in order to do that. What are some of the biggest misconceptions people have about justice-involved veterans? That's a lot. They have a lot of misconceptions, but one of them being that all of the offenses that are committed by veterans are violent. That's not something that we see. We see a lot of substance-related offenses, so nonviolent type crimes. Other things like that, the military, their military service incited the criminal behavior. So as we discussed before, there's a lot of other factors that lead a person into the criminal justice system. And I will say, just in general, a big misconception about veterans that have been dishonorably discharged is that they don't need help, which is not true, or that they don't deserve help. And we do not have that kind of mindset. We, at the Veteran Mental Health Department, we help everybody regardless of their discharge status. What signs should family members or friends look for if they believe a veteran may be struggling and heading toward legal trouble? It's a very interesting question. Sometimes we have signs and sometimes we don't have signs, but some signs I would recommend looking out for would be any kind of isolation, disconnection, negative self-talk. If you've noticed them being more negative than they normally are. And the big thing too is a routine. If you're aware of the routine that they have and they're not doing those things like they normally would do, then that might be an indicator that something might be off or they might not be doing so well. And the biggest thing to remember about if somebody's not doing too well is just genuinely checking in on them. That genuine concern does go a long way. And keeping in mind that maybe that veteran doesn't even recognize that anything is visible on the outside. They may also not know that they're struggling per se. And asking for help is a really difficult thing at times. And so maybe offering to connect with them. So, hey, I can go with you. I heard about this place that where veterans get together. Would you be interested in going? Can I go with you? Kind of thing. So being part of that journey with them to navigate into services. What barriers prevent some veterans from seeking mental health support before situations escalate? So it's hard to ask for help. Stigma, that's going to be a big one. And sometimes just their own awareness of the fact that they're struggling. And sometimes when veterans are connected either with family, friends, peer groups, we have those extra eyes on that person. And so they're able to observe on the outside, if things are off and be able to maybe reach out to that veteran to navigate those services with them. But definitely stigma is going to get in the way of that. And so being connected with a community also that embraces mental health services versus contributing to the stigma is also going to be a big factor for that. If a veteran watching this is struggling with mental health, substance use, or legal issues, what steps can they take today to start getting help? Please call us. Please call the Veteran Mental Health Department. We have many different resources that we can get people connected to, veterans and their families. It doesn't just stop at the veteran or the service member. Please reach out to us. We have many different resources, but I definitely would always recommend getting connected with our military veteran peer network because these peer service coordinators are located in every single county. They're in close contact, proximity to that veteran, and they have an abundance of resources and knowledge about that community to start getting them connected so they can start working towards getting help that they need. Do you have a veteran story in mind that sticks out? I remember working with an officer in regards to a Vietnam veteran who was living in his truck. So some citizens called it in. He wasn't bothering anybody, but citizens called it in. And between myself and the officer, we knew he needed more. And in speaking with him, he wasn't connected with claims he hadn't gone through. He didn't have anything. And he really wasn't that interested either about getting connected because of his previous experience with it. And from there, we called Texas Veterans Commission. We got in contact with the MVPN. We got a peer service coordinator in contact with him, and they were really able to get him the services that he needed. So for us, that was a huge win. That was one veteran that did not go under the radar or was forgotten.